Hello and welcome to our Frappe webinar. I am Palkan from the marketing team at Frappe and the host for this session. With us, we have Chillar Anand, who is a Frappe developer and an expert with ERPNext healthcare module. In today's webinar, Chillar will walk us through the outpatient department cycle in ERPNext. I'm sure you would all have a lot of questions during the demo. At the end of the webinar, we will open the floor to a Q&A session. Kindly keep your questions for the end and keep your microphones on mute in the meanwhile. Chillar, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Falcon. So, whether we look at a small clinic or a 1,000-bedded hospital, outpatient department, also known as OPD, is a critical component of every healthcare organization. So, in this webinar, we look at some of the most common flows that happen in healthcare and how we can manage all those OPD flows in ERPNext Healthcare. I hope everyone can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is a demo site that is created for healthcare. And once a user logs into the site, they will get access to this desk interface, which you are seeing now. On top, we have a search bar where we can search for anything. And on the left side, we have all the modules that are present in the ERPNext. And once we select a module, corresponding workspace will open on the right side. Here you can see the healthcare workspace. And this workspace is completely customizable. You can just click on customize and we can change all the shortcuts that are present here. So this is just a brief introduction to healthcare workspace. Now, coming to OPD, typically in an OPD, a patient or someone belonging to a patient will book a patient appointment in advance or on the day when they want to see the doctor. Once the appointment is booked, the patient will go to the doctor. The doctor will assess the patient, and if required, he will prescribe some labs or some tests depending on the patient condition. And then the patient will go to billing counter. He will pay the money, and then he will go to the lab and he will get some tests done. And then he will come back and see the doctor. Doctor, after seeing the reports, he might prescribe some medications or he will suggest some other course for the patient. So this is a typical OPD flow that happens on a daily basis. Now let's look at patient appointment flow. Before going into patient appointment flow, we need to first onboard a doctor into ERPNext Healthcare. A doctor is also called as healthcare practitioner in ERPNext. And in the workspace, you can see healthcare practitioner right here. Even if you don't find any item here, you can directly go to search bar and you can search it directly here. Here we already have a set of doctors. And you can see doctor name and some other details here. For a doctor, if he's handling OPD, we need to add a schedule for the doctor. So when the doctor will be available and how much time the doctor will be available in a hospital and in which department he will be available. So all those details will come under appointment section. As you can see, there is already a schedule for this doctor, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then he is available in cardiology OPD unit. We can also add one more schedule for the doctor. We can select existing schedule, or we can also create a new schedule on the fly. So I'll just create a OPD rounds for morning OPD rounds. And then I'll just add time slots. Here we can select the days on which the doctor is available. Let's say Monday and then Thursday. He is available from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock and the appointment duration is 15 minutes. So I'll just click on add time slots. And ERPNext Healthcare will populate all the time slots automatically. And then we can just click on save. Now, if we go to appointments, we can see we have added one more schedule, and we can select respective service unit for that doctor. And then we can click on save. So that is saved. And for each and every doctor, we can add individual charge items. For example, when booking an appointment, we might be charging X amount of rupees for each and every department. It can be fixed amount for all the doctors, or it can be variable amount for each and every doctor, which can be configured directly here. So once we add all those details, we are good to book patient appointments. So I'll just go to patient appointment, and then I'll click on add patient appointment. So I'll just select a patient. So generally, if there is a landline or some online form is there, patients will try to book an appointment through the web form, or they might call up the hospital and they will share the details. If it is a revisit, which means the patient details will already be available here. And if it is a new patient, we can directly click on create a new patient and add all the patient details here. So once we select a patient, we need to select the doctor. And once we select the doctor, we can click on check availability. And then we can book for a specific date. Let's say I'm booking appointment for next Monday. So it will show all the available slots. So for this doctor is available from 9 to 10 o'clock. So I'll just book one slot. So, and the appointment is scheduled. So once the appointment is scheduled, we might have to send a reminder for the patients a day before the appointment. For that, we already have a handy feature in healthcare. There is also settings for each and every module. And for healthcare, we have healthcare settings. So if we go to healthcare settings, we can see there are some settings for outpatient department. And also we have outpatient SMS alerts. Once we set up SMS integration in ERPNext, we can send SMS alerts for patient registration and then appointment and many other things. For example, let's say we want to send a reminder to the patient a day before in advance. So we can enable this setting and we can select the time at which we need to send SMS to the patient. And we can also customize the message here. Once we set the message and the time, we can just click on save. So whenever we book an appointment, a day before the appointment date, ERPNext will automatically send an SMS alert to the patient. In addition to this, we can also set up alerts. Let's say we want to follow up with the patient after the appointment is done. We have something called as notifications in ERPNext, where we can schedule regular alerts for each and any event. For example, let's say we want to set up an email or SMS alert for patients after 3 or 4 days of the appointment. So we can just create a new notification, and then we can select the doc type which we want to create the notification on. Here I have selected patient appointment, and I am sending alert after 4 days of the appointment date. And here I am selecting patient email as I am sending alerts via email. And then in the message, we can add some custom message here. If it is regarding some follow-up, or if there are some serious symptoms for the patient, we can add messages correspondingly based on the department or based on the condition of the patient. And then we can click on save. So the system will send reminders automatically after 4 days of the appointment. I'm going back to appointments list. And here we can see all the appointments in a chronological order. In addition to list view, there is also calendar view for appointments. So when a doctor is logged in with his ID, he can see all the appointments that are booked in his calendar. And there is also color code based on appointment types. For example, if a doctor is seeing some general consultations in one department and some cardiology specific appointments in some other department, we can add color codes and the doctor will be able to see all the appointment details right from the calendar view here. So this is about patient appointments. Once a patient appointment is booked, the patient will come to hospital on the specified date. On that date, we need to create patient encounter. Just search for patient encounter. And I'll click add patient encounter. So in the patient encounter, we can capture all the clinical details. For example, let's say a patient has symptoms like cough or cold. We can capture those. And let's say he might have some existing conditions like diabetes mellitus or BP, high BP or something like that. We can capture those details also. And doctor will assess the patient, and let's say he has some abnormal temperature or some other condition. Doctor might prescribe some lab test for the patient. So for that, we can add lab test directly here. Let's say a doctor prescribes CBC, complete blood count. So he can just click on save. Yeah. Now, since the doctor has prescribed a lab test, the patient needs to go to the billing section and he has to pay the money for the lab test. So when a patient walks to the billing department, the person sitting at the billing counter will have a sales invoice page open. So the person who is doing the billing, he can create a new sales invoice. And there is an option here. I'll just select the patient. So there is a button here, get items from, where we can select healthcare services and we can directly select the item which we want to bill. And it is here. I'll just click on save. And the person at the billing counter will collect the cash and he will submit the invoice. Yeah, as you can see, there is a notification saying lab test and then sample collection has been created. So if we go to healthcare settings, there are settings to automatically create lab test when invoice is billed. And in addition to that, we can also configure sample collection for each and every lab test depending on the requirement. Yeah. So as you can see, there is a setting called create lab test on sales invoice submission, which is checked. Due to this, it has created a lab test directly. Now, when the patient walks to the lab, the technician sitting at the lab will have lab test list here, and he can see all the patients and the tests that needs to be done. And once the patient walks in, they will collect the sample for that particular lab test if needed. And in the sample collection page, we can see a sample collection record was created automatically for this patient. So we need to collect a blood sample, and the quantity is mentioned here. And the technician will collect the blood sample, and if required, they will add any notes here. And once the sample collection is done, they can even take a printout of the name if required, and they will save this. Once the sample is collected, and we can submit that. Once the sample is submitted, the technicians might take some time to generate the results. If it is like a simple test like complete blood count or some other test, the results will be available in few hours. But for some tests like urine culture or some other test, it might take few days for the results to appear. So in any case, we need to notify the patients once the lab result is ready. So once the result is available, first we need to enter the result in the lab test. Let's say for a complete blood count, we got the result. And for CBC, we need to enter all the details which is available from the lab. So I'll just enter some details here. So once we enter all the values, we can click on save. And we can submit. Yeah. So the lab report is ready now. And in the healthcare settings, we can see there are automatic alerts even for lab tests also. Similar to appointment alerts, we have lab alerts also. Yeah, laboratory SMS results. So we can set up SMS or email, and we can have a custom message so that whenever a lab result is ready, we can send an automatic alert to the patient that the report is ready. So once the report is ready, the patient, if required, will book another appointment, or if it is on the same day, he will go back to the doctor with the report. The doctor, after looking back, he might suggest some medications for the patient depending on the condition. So I'll just add a dolo dosage morning and evening for a period of 2 days, and then it should be in tablet form. Just save this and we can submit the document. So once this is done, we can take a printout and give a printout to the patient. As you can see, this is a standard print format where we are showing few details like patient name and then symptoms, diagnosis, and the medications that are prescribed and the investigations that are prescribed. And this print format is completely customizable. So let's say we want to include a patient gender, age, or some other details in the print format. So we can go to print formats. And we have a print format which is already set up for patient encounter. We can go here and we can click on edit format. So as you can see, there are few fields which are already set up here. And we have some sections for medications, investigations, etc. Now we need to add patient gender and patient age. So on the left side, you can see all the available fields that we can directly drag and drop here. So yeah, here we have gender. We'll just drag it here. And then age. Yeah. So there are many other fields that are available here. We can even completely customize the header, footer, and hospital logos, etc. We can add all the customizations. We can rearrange the fields as needed. And then we can click on save. It is saved. Now we can go back to patient encounter. And if we click print, we can see age, gender are already available here. So this print format is completely customizable and we can change it for each and every doctor. So in addition to that, ERPNext also has a flexible communication system where we can send emails for each and every doc type. For example, we have a patient here. And if we open the patient, we can see all the patient details here. And directly from here, we can send emails. We can just click on new email and we can, let's say we want to send a lab report as an attachment. We can just attach the lab report and send email directly here. And we will have a history of all the communication with the patient directly from the patient record. We can also attach if somebody has taken some scans or some reports from other hospital, we can just take a scanned copy and we can also attach it directly here. So that is about patient encounter flow. We also have a patient history section. Let's say a patient has visited a hospital 5 or 6 times and the doctor wants to take a look at the entire history. So he can just go to patient history and he can select the patient. Once you select the patient, you can see the entire patient history here. So all vitals like blood pressure, respiratory, temperature, and whatever details that has been captured, you can see how they have progressed over the time. In addition to that, we can see all other records like lab test and then patient encounter, vitals, etc., etc. You can see the complete history here. If you want to filter out, you can also filter out based on document type. Let's say you want to look at only lab tests. You can just select a lab test here. And it will filter out all the lab tests. And you can also select a specific date range if you want to look lab tests in the specific date range. and you can see all the details here. You can click on expand to see the complete details. And this patient history is completely customizable. We can also add custom fields that needs to be tracked here. If we go to patient history settings, here we have a set of doc types and some fields which are being tracked. We can just click on, let's say we want to add some new fields in the patient encounter. You can just click on add, and then we can click edit fields, and we can select all the other fields that we need to track as part of patient history. Let's say we want to track symptoms and diagnosis. We can select that. You can click on save. Now, whenever we capture a new patient encounter, the new fields that are added will be tracked as part of patient history. We also have a small dashboard that is developed for healthcare. And this is the dashboard. Here you can see the total number of patients and how many patients were admitted as part of inpatient and how many open appointments are there. And these are some graphs that a doctor needs to see. And these are again completely flexible. We can even build new dashboards. We can build new cards, and we can create a new dashboard as required. Yeah. So these are the OPD flows and some healthcare settings and healthcare dashboard. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, we can take it now.
Hello, Chillar. I have posted a question on chat. Can you please go through the same?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So does patient encounter not automatically fetch or pick up that the patient is due for a visit and show on patient encounter list? It will not show automatically, but from patient encounter, we can select an appointment and all the details will be filled automatically. Okay, there is one more question. In patient history, is it possible to view records from a previous employer? Yeah, irrespective of the employer, if there is a clinical record that is associated with the patient, all the details will show up irrespective of the employer. Issuing prescriptions for patients. Need to sign the prescriptions. Okay. So Salim, when you mean to say after taking out printout, do doctors need to sign, or are you asking about electronic signing of the prescriptions?
Hi, Anand. Yes, so once the patient visits the doctor, then the doctor would need to then obviously give the patient the prescription, and on that the pharmacist will not accept a prescription without it being stamped officially by the doctor and signed. So is there a way that we can achieve that?
Yeah, so in print format itself, we can include signatures also. So the prescriptions will be signed automatically. Can patient history be restricted to the corresponding doctor? The patient is going to after visit. Okay. This can be achieved. What we need to do is we need to set up roles and permissions so that the history of one doctor is seen only by that doctor, but not the others. So we have to set up roles and permissions accordingly.
But also at some point of time, I need to show the complete history to some doctor.
Yeah.
So will it be possible, like juggling with the data always? Like sometimes I want to show the whole history, sometimes I don't want to show the whole history.
That I don't think is possible. Maybe you can create some custom views, maybe 2 custom views, where in one view you can show all the history, and in another view you can show only the restricted history. I think you can achieve with some custom views.
Okay, thank you, Chillar.
Yeah. Can patient info be integrated to government authority or NHIF? Yes. So there are many ways to integrate ERPNext healthcare with government data. For example, in India, we have ABDM, where there is a national health portal, and we can integrate ERPNext healthcare with the national health portal. So most of the time, the other portal will have standard REST APIs. And in ERPNext, we can have a server script or an integration script where we can sync data with the other server whenever there is an update. For example, I'll just go to server scripts here. Yeah, I'll just click on script. I will just say patient data sync. Doc type. And then we'll select the patient. Yeah. After save. And then here we can write a small Python script where we can fetch all the relevant data of the patient, and we can directly sync to third-party portals. So we can achieve that using this. Is there a hospital room and ward management available? Yes. So we have.
Anand, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Like, is there not any possibility, like when we create a new instance of the ERPNext, so there is a website option, right? So in the website, all front-end things are available, the blogs are available. So through that, the patient can book their own appointments with all these facilities at the ease of their home. And then, like on our side, we get all the details. Okay, this day the patient is coming, is gonna come. So the things we can schedule at our end, like as a patient, as a doctor, as a hospital, I can set up all the scenarios, and that link can automatically, take the patient's input and do the details there. So like we cannot have that custom thing for the patient side, like the front end website.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have something called as web forms. So let's say we want to provide a simple web form where a patient can enter their details and book appointment directly instead of an employee entering the details. You can go to web forms. And patient. Yep, we already have a small form for patient registration. I'll just click on website. So as you can see here, we can fill all the fields that we need to capture. Let's say we want to capture name, age, gender, blood group, and if you want to capture some medical history, you can even include all those fields. And then you can just create a form. Once the form is ready, you can just share the form link with the patient. The patient can open this on their system or on mobile. They can just enter all the details and they can click on save. Once they enter all the details, a patient appointment will be booked automatically. We can set up all those. That is not an issue. So does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, that's a great feature. We have that. And this will be a generic link. I can send it to n number of patients. Like,
Correct.
it is not specific to any single person.
No. It's just a plain form, and you can send it to n number of patients.
And the data will be synced automatically, or I have to do something into our admin panel?
Yeah, you don't need. So you can create these web forms for a specific doc type, or you can set up some scripts to automatically fill up the required records. So let's say you want to create patient appointment. You can configure the form in such a way so that the patient appointment will be created automatically on submission of the form.
Great. So that all the things will be created by default.
Correct.
Through that script.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great feature.
Okay. Okay. Is there any way we can? Yeah. So this is what we have answered just now. Okay. Yeah. Hospital rooms and ward management is available. So you can set up multiple service units and then rooms, and you can just configure which rooms will be part of which unit, and you can configure based on the hospital layout, etc., etc. So that is available. Okay. I think we have answered whatever questions that are posted on the chat, and if somebody has any other questions, yeah, we'll take them. Okay, recording, yeah. So we will share the video on YouTube, and you can subscribe to our channel, and you will get a notification once the video is uploaded. We also have one more recording of the healthcare module, which was done some time back. I'll just post a link in the chat. If somebody wants to explore in detail about healthcare module, you can go through that video as well. Yeah, I'll just posted the YouTube channel link as well.
Thank you, Chillar, for the amazing demo. So I think we can wrap up the session now. There is one last question from Prashant, if you can answer that, Chillar.
Yeah. Any diet chart provision in healthcare module? Currently, there is no provision for diet chart as such. Anyway, you can directly create custom doc types in ERPNext. You can just go to doc type list. And here, you can just create a new doc type for diet chart. And then you can create multiple charts for the diet. And then you can directly link that in patient encounter. And you can link the corresponding diet chart as required. So for now, there is no provision. But if you see any use case, probably you can raise a issue on Frappe Healthcare repo, where we can discuss and see if we can take it up for the upcoming releases. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chilla, for answering the question. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session.
Now, I have a last question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just had you one message on chat. Like, I've seen a doctor practitioner in your patient appointment part, but after after clicking on check availability details, there also you're showcasing a practitioner name. What is the logic behind that?
No. Both the department and doctor name will be populated automatically. We just have to select the date.
Yeah, but I guess you selected it.
Yeah. And if we go to appointment,
yeah,
I'll just select patient. And then practitioner name.
Yes.
Click on check availability.
Yeah, here you have.
Yeah, I think this is a bug. Both the department and the practitioner will be selected automatically. We just need to select the date.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned room management also, right?
Sorry?
Yeah. And you mentioned room management too, right? Can you please show that room management part, how we can manage in ERPNext, the room management? Your room and ward management.
Yeah. So if we go to service units, so here we have healthcare service unit. So I'll just click on add a healthcare service unit. And here we can select the unit. Let's say we want to set up a cardiology unit. I'll just say cardiology. And then unit type we can select here. Let's say these are OPD rooms. We'll just create a new unit type. OPD rooms. And then we can select here. Will the appointments be allowed? Yes. So I'll just select. We can also select if we want to enable overlap appointments. If not needed, we will just leave that. We'll just click on save. So cardiology OPD. And then unit type will be OPD rooms. And then we'll just select the company or a hospital name. And if we are managing stock, we can even select the warehouse. And then we'll click on save.
So these all service unit is on managed lesser rooms.
Yeah.
You're trying to see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here where I can mention that like different like occupied, vacant, how we can manage those things.
So occupied, vacant, room level.
There is a tree view for the unit. Can you just?
Yeah.
So if you expand all the nodes, you see occupancy status.
On the right side, you can see.
So this will update based on IPD, I guess.
Yes. So if you have any patient admitted in that, there is an inpatient record in the system created, then the room will be occupied.
Okay, fine. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. There is one more question. Can we have link to the demo in the cloud to see how some features are set up? Okay. So you can go to Frappe Cloud and you can sign up for a trial account. And using the trial account, you can set up dummy data and you can try out ERPNext. Not only healthcare, you can try out all other modules as well. I'll just post a link for that. Yeah, I guess there are no questions. Palkan, I think we can wrap up.
Sure. Cool. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hope to see you all in our next webinar, and I hope this webinar was helpful. Goodbye.